Hey guys, what's up? It's Gary Oak, and today we're going to be concluding our Let's Play of StarCraft Remastered with the final Protoss campaign mission, number 10, Eye of the Storm.
Executor, our plan worked perfectly. The Zerg defenses are broken, and the way to the Overmind is laid bare. The time for our stand has come.
Indeed. My friends, this is our final hour. Not all of us may survive the coming conflict. Yet, death may be a blessing should we fail here. We seek now to destroy a foe that has ravaged its way across the universe, consuming all in its path. And now, it has reached the end of its long journey. The Overmind has come to destroy all that we hold dear, and assimilate us into itself. And I say to thee, this shall not come to pass. Ire shall not fall. Executor, I stand ready.
As do I.
Well, I guess all I have left is to see this through. The Zerg have taken everything from me. My home, my family, my friends. I know that nothing I do can bring those things back. But I'll be damned if I just sit on my hands and wait for the end. I want a piece of them, all right. I'm in.
Then let our actions speak for us. For Adun. For Ire.
Executor, Tazadar, this comes too late to you. But the Conclave has witnessed your defeat of the Cerebrate. They know now that they cannot deny the necessity or the valiancy of your actions. We sought to punish you, while it was we who were in error. You represent what is greatest in us all, and all our hopes go with you. Entaro Adun, brave sons of Ire.
Wow. Does that mean they're gonna send some backup for us?
You got it.
Good to go, sir.
You got my attention.
So, we've got, as you can see, we've got the option here of building Terran or Protoss, or both.
Standing by.
And I was thinking of just sticking with Protoss mainly. Just because this is the Protoss campaign, and I mean, while I could just go mech and crush them, I think I'm gonna build a Protoss army for this. I mean, it is fun to go mass battlecruiser plus mass carrier and make an insane victory fleet, but I did my victory fleet last mission, so that's kind of my victory fleet quota for the day. Well, for the campaign. So we're just gonna be greeting it up here, quite hardcore. Want to get another bunker here. The thing about the Terran base I really hate is, look how big it is. It's so huge and exposed, and we're against Zerg. And it's so annoying trying to defend all this. It's really, really annoying. So we're just trying to build as many probes and pylons and everything else that we can here. What I want to do is figure out what base I want to take. Because the one thing about this map is there are tons and tons of extra resources, like up here, and I think there's some around here as well. Probably gonna need another depot soon. So I'm just gonna have that SCV build depots. Let's load up the Ganther Thor with some interceptors. So I'm just gonna use this DT to scout around the map and figure out where I want to expand, because that's the first thing, one of the first things I want to do is get expansions going. Oh, this guy has minerals in his hands. That's not good.
Orders received. Right away, sir.
Maybe we should build another bunker somewhere. Yeah, let's build another bunker up there.
Orders received. Yes, sir. Orders received.
There's actually a lot to manage on this mission. Having to manage two bases, like two full bases like this at a time is pretty insane. You'll notice that I don't quite have the hand speed to correctly move everything and manage all of my stuff at the same time. Yeah, see, like, I forgot about that probe. So I'll just build a few cannons up here. What kind of sucks is we don't have Phoenix. I'm sad about that. It's weird. I don't understand why they don't give us Phoenix on this mission. You think he would be here. I mean, you could say, oh, what about the immersion / roleplay purposes of, of Phoenix being busy with, you know, the Zerg and that Cerebrit we just killed, but we also had, Zeratul there too, so why would Zeratul be with us to fight the Overmind? That's my question. So I'm trying to find the place that gives us access to the Zerg bases. So basically the Zerg are just everywhere on this map. They're in the center. And there's a ton of bases. I think they have like 5 bases or something. There's like 4 red bases, which aren't that big, but there's 4 of them in different corners, and they surround the Overmind. Yeah, so here's a big mineral bank. The reason why I'm trying to figure out where I want to expand as Protoss is because I'm going to want to build my gateways at the expansion I take. And I'm going to do the usual gateway explosion that I've grown fond of. Let's just get a comsat station. May as well get comsats. So we can actually expand for sure now. I think I'm just gonna get my gateways over here, because I can't see... Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I forgot that this isn't an actual entrance. I forgot to rebind my Nexus hotkey. I really need to do that. So let's just do a scan here. Scan nothing. Oh, I don't even have a gateway yet. I'm gonna get a gateway soon, don't worry. I promise I'll start getting gateways. So I can just get a pylon... I can just get a pylon here. May as well just keep spamming SCVs. The only reason I'm getting those buildings there is just so I can get some basic defenses. I'm probably going to get a few tanks, but again, I'm just going to get enough Terran units to defend my base correctly, as opposed to have to worry about, you know, building a proper army of Terran. Let's just cover our mineral line here. Okay, good. The pylon placement is where I wanted it. I wanted to be able to build gateways next to this little thing there. So we're going to start throwing down a lot of gateways. I think we're almost fine on SCVs. I'm just going to get another bunker's worth of Marines. And I can screen region that to 4. I've got several probes here I can Maynard over here. So what we want to do is just get our economy as quick as possible, and then just macro the shit out of them. So I can get another... I can just get a nice gateway grid here. Yeah, this is good. I'm gonna keep that space intentionally blank. Alright, we're fine there. Keep hitting R instead of A, that's embarrassing.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Piece of me, boy. Give me some of this shit.
I could probably stand to get another set of Marines. So I'm gonna get a few tanks, as I said, and use that just for basic defense. Can Maynard some more probes up here.
Piece of me, boy.
I think I need 4 probes for that. Yeah, this will be good. What I do need, though, is another forge. And a cyber core. Because I need cyber core for robotics. So let's just build some tanks. Yes, we do have a lot of money, but that's not going to be an issue soon, because we've got plenty of gateways. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's good. I can fit all these gateways onto one screen region, which is exactly what we want here. Just get a gateway grid. And we'll just power it with extra pylons here, and I can get a few cannons to protect it. Oh wow, I thought I rallied them to it, but I guess I slightly misrallied. So I'm going to want to rally my troops down to there. Setting up rally points like this is a real pain in the ass, but it'll be worth it.
Research complete.
Alright, we have a ton of money now, so let's start spending it.
Ready to roll out.
There we go. Singularity charge, and now we can get our citadel. We almost have enough money to, or almost have enough shit here. Almost able to start our upgrades. I think I should be moving my, yeah, let's move our units up here. Okay, good, our production is kicking in. Yeah, now they're starting to get pretty intense with their attacks. Yeah, the Gamphithor is fine. It's a freaking house, man. It's got so many hit points and shields. So we can get our Zealot legs going. We're gonna be able to start 2-2 really soon. There. Now the real spam begins. We get to just crank out Protoss units and go completely apeshit here. I'm gonna leave this open, actually. I can build another pylon. They seem to be pressuring here fairly hard, so I don't mind building a ton of cannons.
Orders, sir, bro.
They haven't done anything to this base, which is kind of weird.
Identify target. Destination. Identify target.
Upgrade complete. Not enough.
Okay, now we're out of minerals.
Not enough minerals.
Whoopsies. May have went a tad overboard there. I'm gonna want to expand, I think, with Terran.
Orders received.
So we're just going to do a massive attack here at some point. I think I'll get a robo. Yeah, I'll get a robo. Because why not get a robo?
Upgrade complete.
I can't actually build out of that, which is kind of funny. I made too many gates, which is fine, I guess. Like, look how odd this is.
Right
Yeah, let's have a Terran expansion, and the best place for the command center is right here, and you can't build a freaking add-on. I mean, what?
Commander.
Okay, those Marines went way too far.
Rock and roll.
So let's just Maynard a few SCVs down here.
Received.
Get some tanks.
Reporting for duty.
Let's just get a few turrets.
Right away, sir. Affirmative.
Just to grab a few turrets there. Because my SCVs are going kind of crazy with the mining there. Oh, I saw a red blip on the map, which isn't... That's never good.
Affirmative.
Let's just get a bunker.
Roger that. Orders, Captain.
Throw down another bunker here.
Orders received.
Throw down some turrets.
Orders, sir. Absolutely.
Now we can build some more. Actually, do I want to skip a production cycle, or... Let's just get a robo bay, another support bay, and an observatory, and a nexus. We can afford another nexus here. Oh, those are guardians. Where the fuck is Raynor? Here he is.
This should be good. Oh yeah. Identify target.
Those guys are assholes.
Orders received.
Frickin' guardians.
Roger that.
Terran static defense is one weakness. No.
Let's move. Orders, sir. Standing by. Raynor here.
So many guardians.
This is Jimmy. Sounds fun. You ready to piece of me, boy?
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Let's get some Reavers. Actually, let's just get 2 Reavers. We want to get Scarab damage, and we want to get Observer speed. Okay, Raynor. No, no, no. You don't want to go there. This is no place for you, Raynor.
Raynor here. You want a piece of Roger that.
I might have gone a bit too apeshit with the gateway placement there, because I think I'm getting Building Exodus blocked from some of them. I wonder if that's Dragoons.
Warriors have engaged the enemy.
I'm not even building a full cycle out of those gateways.
I read you. Reporting for duty.
So let's just get some Scarabs. And we've got Observer speed, so we'll just grab in a couple Observers there. Oh god, Plague. At least we killed them.
Affirmative. I read you. Anytime you're ready. SCP good to go, sir.
I think we can Maynard a few
Go, go, go.
units there.
Up and good to go. Commander. Jacked up and good to go. Destination. Moving. I read you.
Alright, we're fine now. We're fine. Let's Maynard a few SCVs now.
Right away, sir.
I probably should have done that a while ago.
Right away, sir. Orders received.
And down here we've got a Nexus that I had neglected for quite a while. As you can see, I just straight up don't have the APM for this shit. I'm just way too slow. So I'm just gonna do this.
We are under attack.
No, I want 2 Reavers. Some Scarabs.
Destination.
There, that's looking good. Send those guys over there.
I read you.
Oh, I've been neglecting my upgrades. Whoopsie daisy. Let's get sight range and Scarab capacity. We're almost ready for our big attack. Ah, now we're supply blocked. Shouldn't be supply blocked for too long. Yeah, we're actually totally supply blocked. Alright, so we've got 6 more supply.
Yes, Executor.
And then we can go in. Reavers cost 4, so we can build 1 Dragoon. Might be these gateways here. I guess you can't build a grid quite this big of gateways. That's good to know. Oh, I guess that's the Defiler going in there. I guess that was a tank hitting a Defiler, which is good.
Go ahead, Commander.
Alright, I think we're ready to attack here. Almost. Once this Reaver is done, we'll be fine. Do we want to wait for +3/+3? I don't know. So, we're maxed out on Protoss, finally. Oh, we still don't have the Reaver capacity finished yet. Yeah, we're slightly waiting on that. So I'm just gonna wait for that to finish at least. I know you don't technically need Reaver capacity, but I'm getting it just because. It's less shit for me to manage. So let's just hotkey this, and let's just start pushing. Alright, now the death push begins. We will push and push until there's nothing left to push. So we're just pushing with everything everywhere.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
So let's just wipe out everything we can and see where this takes us. Oh, and for some reason my game clock disappeared. That's one thing that's really annoying me about this game, is it just randomly disables settings that I have. It's so bizarre. I don't know why. Because let's see if I can actually fix that here. Let's see game timer. That got disabled for absolutely no reason. Like, I've had to change these settings in here so many times. I don't understand why. I really don't get it.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Well, fortunately, we should be reaching the Overmind quite soon. And there's not really anything the computer can do here. They're just getting completely overwhelmed. You see, they're hatching Ultralisks by the, by the handful, but it's not really making any difference. Too many Protoss units. This should be good. Looks like we're going to finish. Yeah, it's definitely... Even Zealots are getting blocked here. I don't know why I keep building Dragoons out of that gateway, because it's just useless. You normally don't build that many gateways in the same spot like that. Normally you have a big set of them at, like, I'd have a set right here, for instance, if I were to be playing properly. Oh, I lost a Reaver to something. Here we go. It's over.
Executor, the Overmind has been weakened. I fear we have sustained severe damage ourselves. I will steer the Gantrathor into a collision course with the Overmind. If I can channel enough of the Dark Templar's energy through the hull of the Gantrathor, I should be able to bring swift death to the accursed abomination. Remember us, Executor. Remember what was done here today. May Adun watch over you.
Oh wow, we're only at 22 Blizzard minutes for this game. That's a lot faster than I thought it would be. As you can see, I have so much money. One thing I could have done was also just build tons of battlecruisers in the background, but I didn't really see a need to do that. I just wanted to win with purely Protoss units, and as I said, the only stuff I did with Terran was to expand and defend. There's actually a ton of like, you can't tell, but there's like a ton of resources all over this map. It's actually insane how much available money there is. So the game kind of gives you a chance to just fight this really long, drawn-out battle against the Zerg, but there aren't too many Zerg. What's, I think, the biggest weakness of this map in terms of the base defense for the enemy is, first of all, it's on low ground. So if you attack it from the high ground, you can actually kill red pretty easily because all of their bases are cliffable. And then it's very broad and open, so there's no choke, so it's very friendly to the Protoss ground unit approach, right, where I just flood everything in there like I did, and everything can move in and fight and get a good concave on them, and yeah, so pretty simple there. That does conclude, though, our Let's Play of StarCraft Remastered, the original at least, so let's sit back and watch the victory cinematic. Oh man, a blistering 1:06 APM. There's actually a substantial amount of red units that didn't die, but purple lost pretty much everything. It's kind of funny, purple's got like the four hive plan going on. I thought red would have pulled more units to defend their bases after I killed 2 of them. One thing I noticed is they have 2 big bases and 2 really tiny bases. So I think in all, each Zerg computer has around, what, 4 hatcheries each? Or 4 hatches worth of stuff. But I think there's like 2 hatches and 2 hives for red and 4 hives for purple. And so ends the greatest anneal of all time. Tassadar crashing into the Overmind. If that's not an anneal, I don't know what is. But it's kind of weird, because he technically doesn't actually crash into the Overmind. He explodes before he hits it. And I always wondered why he never, or Zeratul never just stabbed the Overmind to death. Because, I mean, it's something that can absolutely happen, as we're going to see in Brood War. Spoiler alert, for those who haven't played the game that's nearly 20 years old. Oh, I think I know why I didn't get any title cards, because if you select original 1998 campaign, it just deletes the title cards. I get it. I get it now. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. I thought selecting the original 98 campaign would only kind of preserve some stuff that might have been edited out. Because I know they edited a few things out if you don't select the original 98 voiceovers, for instance. I know some of like the pissed off lines or whatever, some of the unit voice lines are actually just removed if you don't select that. And one thing that's really annoying is they preserved all of the original music except for the Terran expansion music. And you have to select either, I'm not sure if it's the campaign or the voiceover thing that you want to select the original option, because you're going to get the remaster of that song, and I prefer the original way, way more than the remaster. It feels like the remaster kind of like ruined the track, and that's probably my favorite track in all of RTS. So yeah, I apologize for screwing up the title cards there. I don't know why it took me this long to realize. Oh god, how many title cards did I miss? I'm gonna have to like use cheats or something to just go and see what they all look like. But yeah, that was a fun little playthrough. I would say it was the end of a really long and difficult journey, but it wasn't. I kind of just trounced the campaign, which is to be expected. The original isn't that hard if you know what you're doing, and I've certainly played through this many, many times. It's been several years since I last played it, but I still remember the basic strategy. And I'm not sure if anybody, or if I really went into too much detail about the whole trying to learn proper brood war mechanic type thing, but even though it's obviously completely unnecessary for the campaign to learn proper mechanics, you know, like unit comps and macro and, you know, hotkey setups and all that stuff for the original, like I didn't know about most of that stuff when I first played, obviously, but it will help you beat the campaigns a lot easier, even if you're only interested in the single player. And when Brood War gets difficult, like the actual Brood War campaigns, because there are a few legitimately tough maps in Brood War, or if you play custom campaigns with really hard maps, then that's when those mechanics will come in handy, because it will allow you to build enough units fast enough and of the right composition to defeat much more challenging computer opponents. So that's more of a practical use. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. The original StarCraft campaigns, like that and Brood War, they're both some of the greatest single-player experiences I've ever had. And I'm confident that's not just because it was one of the big games of my formative years, right? Because StarCraft 1 came out when I was 10, and I was 11 when Brood War hit, so I've definitely grown up on this game. Mainly the single player. And the funny thing is, like, StarCraft is such a good game because of the multiplayer. Pretty much exclusively because of the multiplayer. But the single player is really, really good. One thing I like about the single player of the original StarCraft is it's just kind of a normal, like, a lot of normal missions. That's one thing I didn't like about StarCraft 2. Pretty much all of the missions were complete gimmicks, and they weren't traditional build and destroy RTS maps. And while some say that, you know, original StarCraft campaigns are boring because they're almost purely build and destroy, especially the Protoss campaign, it's pretty much exclusively a build and destroy campaign. But the thing about that is it's kind of the bread and butter of RTS. Like, that's what it is. And yes, there should be gimmick missions here and there, because gimmick missions kind of break the monotony and spice it up, especially if you have really, really creative mission objectives, like some of the maps have. But when that's exclusively the campaign, and it's not really build and destroy, it's just kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me as much. That could just be a big personal preference thing. I'm not sure how many people share that point of view. And another thing I like about original StarCraft is the computer still has human limitations. Like in StarCraft 2, they absolutely don't. Like a good example of that is the All-In map, like the last map of Wings of Liberty. The Zerg basically have it's a small map, right? A really small map, but the Zerg has a base that essentially stretches into the infinite horizon, and you can't do anything to it. There is no way to stop it. I think even if you use cheat codes in that, then and you destroy the base, it doesn't matter. They'll still automatically spawn units. And a lot of the StarCraft maps have that, or StarCraft 2 maps kind of have that, right? It doesn't really matter. And they don't actually have a proper base. But in the original StarCraft maps, all the computers have a normal base. They still have resource and supply limitations just like a human player. Except in Brood War, where there's actually a trigger built into every single map, as far as I know, that will automatically replenish a computer's resources when they go broke. But you can still do stuff like supply block them, and you can still take out their tech buildings to prevent them from building certain units. And I feel that's really cool, and it kind of makes it more realistic to me, at least. I don't know how relevant it is to talk about realism in StarCraft, but there you have it. But that almost concludes the credits, it looks like. I'm not sure how much is left. I know we're into the Brood War credits, but I felt I may as well use this time to kind of give a retrospective, and people who don't really care about my opinions will have closed this video already because cinematic's over, campaign's done, so figured I may as well talk. And for the first time in a while, I'm actually not playing Remastered at, 1:32 in the morning, so I'm not really tired. It's actually around like 1:30 in the afternoon. So this is 12 hours earlier than I normally play, because normally what happens is I have, schoolwork and I play WoW and I like to do writing stuff, so usually I just try and squeeze in a mission or two of Remastered at the very end of my day before I go to sleep. And, well, now we're in the StarCraft Remastered credits. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know they would roll all 3 sets of credits here. But yeah, so sometimes I just make I just say really stupid shit and do really derpy things in games because I'm just so exhausted. At the end of the day, I'm just kind of going through the motions, and I'm not good enough at original StarCraft to be able to actually make it look like I know what I'm doing when I'm that tired, so I was actually fully alert for this. And if you want to optimally play that map, holy shit, you need a lot of APM to do it properly. But if you do it properly, you can tell there's just... it's so easy if you can do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Brood War. I fully intend to play it. I won't make any promises, but if you do see a Brood War video pop up on my channel, then you'll know that you're going to see the whole thing, because I probably won't start uploading those until I'm mostly through the Brood War campaign. As of recording right now, I have not uploaded a single video of Let's Play the Original to make sure that I have all of it completely done, so you won't see something that I abandon halfway through. You're guaranteed to get the entire thing. I think I mentioned that really early in the Let's Play, that if you're seeing this video, then that means Future Me has completed the campaign. And this is Future Me saying the campaign is done. So, I'm not sure how much of these credits are left. Surely there's not a 4th credit roll after this one. That's a surprising number of people who worked on Remastered. I think Remastered is quite awesome, and I hope a lot more people give StarCraft a try, because I think the greatest limitation of the original StarCraft was the inability to assign custom hotkeys. Custom hotkeys are so important, at least to me, because a lot of the hotkeys, as I mentioned really early on in the Let's Play, they're very awkward, and the inability to remap them just sucks, especially if you're used to StarCraft 2 and you're used to like hitting E for Marine. Having to go from E to M is really tough. It's not as bad if you're a Brood War veteran going to SC2, because a lot of Brood War veterans, for example 4GG, he's a Brood War champion, he actually remapped his Marine hotkey to M, so it's the same as it was in Brood War. Some people actually do that on purpose because their hands are so used to moving to those parts of the keyboard. So it's not as bad if you're making that transition, but if you're going from SC2 to Brood War, it's just awful. And while a lot of people might say, oh, the mechanics of Brood War are very alienating and make the game very inaccessible, the thing is, it's a lot more about that, and the game is a lot less deathbally and a lot less swingy. As some have noted, though, like, the early game of Brood War is it can be very volatile, and it can end in a split second, kind of like it does in StarCraft 2. But once you get to mid and especially late game, Brood War is a lot more, it's a lot more slow-paced, a lot more tactical. It's not build a bunch of X because he's building Y. You're generally going for the same unit composition all the time, but it's how you fight all these little skirmishes and little battles over terrain, and you try and eke out a win as opposed to make this big death, this big death move like you do in StarCraft 2 a lot. I know that's oversimplifying it a lot, but StarCraft 2, it's like you're building up to this decisive battle all the time, and then the decisive battle happens, and most of the time you win or lose based on the result of that decisive battle. In Brood War, you don't see that many decisive battles. I mean, yeah, in TVT, if it goes to like a 45-minute game, you're going to see mass BCs versus mass BCs. There's eventually going to be a big battlecruiser fight with a lot of poking and prodding with science vessels trying to snipe EMPs and a few Yamato snipes here and there. But eventually it's going to come to a head. The battlecruisers are going to fight, usually when the maps find out, and whoever has BCs left over is usually going to win, but that's more of an outlier as opposed to the norm. And yes, sometimes Terran does do stuff like death pushes, but it's different. It's a lot different than SC2. It's a lot about, managing the little things here and there, and the little things just adding up as opposed to managing the big things, I guess. And it's fights over expansions and parts of the map. Like, if you watch Pro Brood War now, especially, you don't see too many pushes into the main. A lot of the time the main base isn't destroyed unless the winning move is, like, say, a Terran Doom drop onto the factories of another Terran, or Protoss recalling onto the factories and they don't have a bunch of turrets and spider mines already set up, right? Where you just cripple the Terran production and they can't win after you destroy all the factories, stuff like that. But usually it's just you try and fight over a piece of terrain and you just can't hold it anymore, and you lose too much of your army, and you lose too many of the smaller battles and like a few big engagements here and there, and eventually you're just forced to concede when you lose a few expansions. A lot of the time the natural and the main aren't completely destroyed unless it's sort of earlier in the game and Zerg does something like a Hydra bust on like Terran or Protoss, something like that. So Jesus Christ, a lot of people worked on Remastered. Holy shit. Customer Service Europe? That is a lot of people doing European customer service for Remastered. Man, this video is going to be super, super long, even though the map playthrough is probably only about half of it. I guess once these credits are done, I'll just stop talking and end the video, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to do a retrospective of actual Brood War once we get through it. And I'll make sure to keep the title cards in place, because, yeah, I really like those little comics. All those times I was like, man, no comics. I probably look like a fool. Now that I kept unknowingly disabling them by having original campaign. Oh, I think one of the reasons why I did that is I thought I heard something about there might have been voice lines in the briefings that were removed in the remaster for some reason. Maybe I just misheard, or I don't know. Maybe I'm just daydreaming. That's always a possibility. So our next campaign is Protoss, so I hope you don't mind my Protoss play, because we're going to be seeing a lot more of it. And my one opportunity to break that was to play Terran. I almost actually went with a Terran game plan and Protoss defense, kind of like the opposite of what I did there, just because I know that if you're following the series from A to Z, then you're going to be watching me play Protoss for 18 straight missions before we go back to Terran, and then another 10 Zerg maps at the very end. Oh, Amy Morheim. Nice. Senior Director, Global Esports. I wonder if that's Mike's daughter or wife. I'm presuming wife. Although if Mike has a daughter, then she'd probably be old enough to work at Blizzard by now. Heh. I honestly thought these credits would be very short for Remastered, but I was dead wrong. They really went all out with this. But one thing I do have to say about Remastered is, apart from the very obvious issues with ladder right now, because I heard ladder is absolutely unbearable to the point where pretty much all of the professional Korean players are completely discontent with it. Apart from that, which I hope Blizzard actually fixes really soon, this is how you remaster a game correctly. You know, you just update the graphics, do that little functionality with custom hotkeys, and the nice thing about that is in custom games you can actually disable custom hotkeys as an option. So if you want to be completely 100% purist, you can still play it in original 4x3 and with disabled custom hotkeys. So if, for whatever reason, like a Korean tournament wants to be 100% purist, they can. So it doesn't intrude upon the original game in any way, shape, or form, but it provides the nice graphical facelift and 100% compatibility with modern systems, so you don't have to worry about trying to get Brood War to work on Windows 10 without having to download like a user-made patch, which I think you had to do on Team Liquid. You had to go to Team Liquid and find like a color correcting patch or something, so you don't get these really gross techno colors like acid colors on the splash screen, and sometimes in-game it would just be completely ruined on Windows 8 and 10 and whatnot, so it was nice having that little update. The only downside is the size is big, so it can't fit on a CD-ROM anymore, but honestly, who cares about that? Everything else was exactly the same, which is how a remaster should be. You don't want to go like, you know, George Lucas on it and completely change the game so it's unrecognizable. I mean, what's funny is a lot of people are trying to ask for these, like on, like, you know, on forums and that. They're like, oh, why don't you make this quality of life change or fix some of this pathing or all this stuff. It's like, no, dude. If you want all these quality of life improvements, there's StarCraft 2. That exists. You can still play StarCraft 2 with all the QOL improvements in the world. You can have like nigh infinite waypointing and infinite size control groups and multiple buildings on a hotkey and all these really convenient things that don't exist in Brood War. Like, honestly, the clunkiness is what makes Brood War such a good game, in my opinion. That makes it fun, because it prevents a lot of the issues that some people might think StarCraft 2 has. That's prevented by Brood War's clunkiness. Like, you just can't... It just doesn't operate that way, and you can't really manage units the way you do in StarCraft 2. And it results in a lot more, you know, broad engagements and scrappy engagements, stuff like that, because you can't just ball up your group. I mean, have you ever, like look at how an entire 200-200 supply army of Zerg moves around the map in SC2. It's really easy because you can have it on 2 to 3 hotkeys and still have pretty decent control of it, and you can move it all very fluidly. But in Brood War, try moving around a 200-200 supply army of Zerg. It's not easy. If you refer back to my, specifically my full circle video, which is the final Zerg campaign mission where I have a 200-200 army of Zerg, that's really, really annoying to move around because it's Zergling, Hydralisk, Ultralisk, right? So there's a lot of units in that composition there. There's nothing really for Zerg outside of Ultralisks that eats up a ton of supply, since I wasn't going air. And you can see how difficult that is to just handle and maneuver. And in StarCraft 2 that wouldn't even be a factor, but that's like a huge deal with controlling an army like that. I could do little more than tell the units to attack in a general direction, which is pretty sloppy by StarCraft 2 standards. That's unacceptably sloppy. And go back and having to click on all my hatches individually and build replacement units as I lost them in order to keep spending my money in to maintain my macros, so that way I would constantly be at 200-200 supply and I'd have a nice rally of units to reinforce my army to continue the death push that I engineered. So you can see the difference in how the games work, right? It's like just doing basic stuff like that is the game for Brood War. That is the game. It's little mechanical mini games. And you play as many of them as you can, and that's why your multitasking is so stretched in Brood War. And I do like that it's not as volatile. There aren't as many... There are a lot of crazy overpowered AoE units, like when you think about it, like Defiler, that's frickin' broken. Spider Mines are completely insane. Siege tanks are disgustingly overpowered. Psionic Storm is insane. So is Stasis. Like, Stasis lasts for like a minute. You know, there's all these really ridiculous overpowered units in Brood War, but it kind of balances out because everyone has the overpowered units, but it's not to the point where it's not like a disruptor in StarCraft 2 where you see the disruptor ball coming toward an army, and if you don't split it really, really quickly, your entire army just disappears from one disruptor shot. And when you have 3 of them, or 4 of them, you can just see entire armies deleted. Stuff like that, right? And you don't see the things like fungal growth and a parasitic bomb on a fleet of carriers, and it just vanishes. Like, when you see a fleet of carriers, that's really hard to stop. You never see them against Zerg, but in Protoss versus Terran, in Brood War, if Protoss gets up to carriers, oh my god, that is scary. So, it's just different. And it's honestly personal preference, and, you know, you can learn to appreciate both, or you can lean toward one or the other, it's fine. But it is nice to acknowledge the differences between the two games, and kind of appreciate them both for what they are. And just sort of play what you prefer. And if you haven't really played much of the other, I'd suggest giving the other a chance. You may find that it's more suited to your playstyle or your preferences. And just remember that no one can play a game of Brood War perfectly, and it's one of those things where, you know, the limitation is what makes it awesome, and the imperfection is also what makes it awesome. Like, one example from movies is the original Star Wars. The original Star Wars A New Hope suffered from so many limitations that they had to get really, really creative in order to produce the film that they wanted to show, and it had such amazing results because of the limitations. You know, they didn't have an infinite budget. George Lucas wasn't God. He couldn't say anything, and people would have to say yes to him all the time. You know, people could say no to George Lucas. Some of the best Star Wars lines came from people saying no to George, because George wasn't all-powerful back then. And, you know, we didn't get the complete CGI mess that were the prequels, because the prequels looked awful and lifeless a lot of the time because they were 100% CGI. CGI didn't exist back when A New Hope came out. It just wasn't a thing. You didn't start seeing a lot of CGI until the 90s. And, like, that's when you saw the real shitty CGI, and then toward the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, that's when you got the better CGI, the more realistic stuff. But, you know, Star Wars was, like, you know, 1970s. So, what do you think they had there? They had to use practical effects and hand-built sets for everything. And it worked out great. And that's just the imperfections and the limitations, as I said, that makes it great. And that's kind of what makes Brood War good, in my opinion. And that's what also makes it fun to watch, because no matter how good you are at Brood War, you're going to make mistakes. You can go through, like, a VOD, if you can get a replay of Flash or Bisu, or Jaedong, which are, you know, like, the top 3 players in the world, and are some of the top 3 players of all time, Flash being number 1, you will see them make mistakes. Even if they're minor, you're going to see them make mistakes. And in StarCraft 2, it's easier to play a nearer perfect game, I feel. There are a lot more abilities to manage in StarCraft 2, which is the difference, because there has to be a lot more complexities that make things easier to control. Like, a lot of units just don't have abilities. Like, Zealots and Dragoons, they don't have abilities at all. There's nothing you can micromanage. Like, in StarCraft 2, you can toggle charge on and off, so sometimes you can micromanage when your Zealots charge, and, you know, instead of Dragoons you have Stalkers, and Blink is a really huge thing, like Blink Micro, especially in PvP. Blink Micro is very, very important, and then you have Adepts with shading and all that stuff. But if you look at the basic gateway units for Protoss, none of them have those special abilities. Like DTs, they don't have any special abilities. Templars, yeah, they're a caster, but Archons, they don't have special abilities. Zealots, Dragoons, no special abilities. Reavers don't have special abilities. Like, you have to go back to them and build Scarabs, but the micro intensity of the Reavers actually generally having them in a speed shuttle and microing them with the speed shuttle. But again, that's not actually an ability, that's just micromanaging 2 units. That is APM intensive though. But you can kind of see the difference, because a lot more emphasis has to go into, yeah, you have to manually go back to eat your Nexus every single time a probe is built, and then you have to send the probe to mine. You can't auto-rally and auto-mine, and you can't have all your Nexi bound to one hotkey. So you have to spend a lot more time just building workers and rallying the workers correctly. And waypointing is a lot more limited in StarCraft 1. I didn't even know you could waypoint for years, to be honest. I had no idea you could. These credits are just going on forever. It's to the point where I kind of want to stop talking, because this retrospective has turned into, like, you know, a 2-hour manifesto. And I'll understand if no one has gotten to this point, and I apologize, but we're so far into the credits, man. We're in too deep. There's no way that they haven't... that they're not almost done. The remastered credits are longer than the credits for the original 2 games put together, and then some. I mean, what? Now we're in all these post-production and production and what? Video and post-production. They didn't redo the cinematics, though. Story. They didn't redo anything in the story, I don't think. Web and mobile. I had no idea mobile had anything to do with this game, but I guess a lot of people worked on that. So yeah, I guess I basically run out of stuff to talk about, because I didn't really plan on talking about this for too long. Oh my god. My computer just fell asleep. My computer fell asleep. We've been here for so long. It actually was going into sleep mode. Because I hadn't moved the mouse all this time. Oh my god, we can scroll. Holy shit, that is a wall of text. Oh my god. This just goes on forever. I had no idea you could scroll. ICU. Intensive care unit, what? Voiceover and localization. Oh yeah, there's actually a lot of this that they had to do because they redubbed it and everything into voices. Oh, Zeratul. Well, I guess these are all the different translations, and I see, yeah, lots. Oh, Paris and... Oh wow, yeah, they have credits for every single redub of the game. You know, because of course, you know, there's like Chinese, Korean... Oh, there it is. That's the end of the credits. We would have been here another 10 minutes, holy shit. But, yeah, so... I guess that was the impromptu rant, and that's over, so thanks very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you for StarCraft Brood War, hopefully. Cheers.